And welcome back to Relationships at Work, the leadership mindset guide for creating a workplace we love. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher, a communications and leadership nerd with a couple of decades of experience and a whole heap of curiosity on how we can make the workplace a better place. If you're a leader trying to understand and improve your impact on work culture and the employee experience, well, you are in the right place. This episode, my friend, is a mini episode where we mindset shift in about 10 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes a scooch, just a scooch more. But needless to say, it is a quick one. We get right to it, and that's what we're going to do right now. In this episode, it's a leadership litmus test, a reaction to tragedy. Life happens, especially when we are least prepared. And when it's bad, loss, death, injury, it can absolutely impact us on a level that transcends any focus on things like the workplace. And when those horrible life events happen, it's the reaction of our leaders, of the workplace to those events that can really tell you where you work. Whether it's a boss, a leader, a colleague, a team member, an associate, whomever, it is how they show up, how they react in those moments that tell you a lot about the quality of the culture of where you work and who you work for and work with. I've had such a moment. Tragedy, both expected, my grandmother passed away after deteriorating for a long while, and then the unexpected. My uncle, upon the news of my grandmother passing away, his mother, he noticed he wasn't feeling well. And so he went to the hospital to find out he only had weeks to live and passed away a few short weeks after that. It hit me. It hit me in a way that I was not prepared for, as it would anybody. And when I mention this to those around me in the org chart, as it were, I was surrounded in concern. I was surrounded in compassion, in a clear sense that I had whatever I needed to recover. Time, space, whatever. And when we're going through those moments like these, the last thing we need is to feel like a tragedy is just an impact on productivity. So I reached out, Threads, it is one of my new favorite places to spend time. I reached out and asked the community on there, what has been the reaction of your leadership when you presented them with a personal tragedy? Here are a few of the not so great ones. First off, my second year at a new school, I'm a teacher, my father-in-law died, and my father died. The previous year, my mother had had a stroke, and my best friend's spouse had died. School gave me time off, but within a month of returning from my father's hospice, I was called into the principal's office for not responding to parent emails fast enough, and only one parent acknowledged my loss. I lasted one more year and I left. You hear the lip service of "we're here to help," and then very soon after, if your tragedy doesn't match the timeline of your work culture or your bosses, it can go a different direction. Here's another one. My mom went into a diabetic coma. My dad got out a stopwatch to pronounce her time of death. I had to take compassionate care leave with less than 24 hours notice. My manager told me I couldn't do it. I told her I was, and then she could figure it out. And lastly, when my military veteran dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I informed my work of 4 years that it would mean I'd miss some days and would likely need to help completing some projects. They said, of course, and offered understanding. At first. A month later, I received a letter from them citing my increased absence and decreased performance as a grounds for firing. I ended up getting a new job, and 2 months later, my father passed away. Again, that lip service of compassion, and then, well, if it doesn't work with our timeline, sorry. We need good humans. So I want to share some good stories. Here's somebody talking about their mom. Fast onset dementia, bedbound journey with long-term hospice care at home during COVID. I was fortunate to be by my mother's side in another state and be able to work remotely. I had tremendous amount of support from my direct manager and compassionate people at a large bank I worked for. I will never forget the support. Life changed for me tremendously after the loss. Almost 3 years later, I am learning to transform grief to purpose. Another story. One week into my new role, my dad passed away unexpectedly. My new boss and leadership was incredible. Even though I was starting on a priority project my executive director gave me, such a good response was incredible. They said, "Take care of yourself and don't worry about anything here. Let us know if you need anything else. Extra time." They fully supported me in working remote on 3 different occasions to support my family. I never had anything close to that kind of support in my old job. Because of that, I am willing to do anything to support the organization. I also have zero interest in going anywhere else. I've been approached by a couple different organizations, and I don't want to go anywhere. And lastly, my boss, team, and execs were absolutely, unequivocally amazing last year in the wake of losing both my parents. Supportive, immediately stepped in to cover my work on short notice, reached out to check on me, helped me ease back in afterward with empathy and compassion. Now, when I asked this question online, I really wasn't sure which way to go. I've asked questions before, and it was predominantly negative. But I was pleasantly surprised at how positive a lot of these responses were. There were a lot of negatives, but there is a lot of positive out there. This is such an amazing opportunity for us as leaders and our organizations to get it right. And as you've heard from some of those good stories, if we do, retention is impacted, connection, relationships. I can't tell you how much this matters from the human side of things, which will only benefit the health of your organization. So what can a good leader provide when they're presented with this kind of tragedy? First, empathy and compassion. Condolences and care are huge. You have to show that you're a human too. Presence. Be in the moment with those that are affected. And one of the ways you can do that, my third thing, listen actively, because nothing is more important in that moment than that moment that they are telling you about this horrible tragedy that's happened to them. Respect for privacy. We have to understand their wishes and their needs. Don't pry. Don't ask for details. That's up to them whether they want to provide or not. This is not the time for that kind of curiosity. Flexibility and accommodation on workload and deliverables. Work is not the most important thing for them right now. And it kind of shouldn't be for you too. Understand and respect that, and then try to understand what will work best. Time off, working from home, shifting deadlines. This is a conversation. And the last one I want to point out, support if and as needed. Check-ins, employee assistance programs. We need to understand this is not the end of the conversation and that we all process differently. They may be overwhelmed with grief right out of the bat. It may hit them later. We're humans after all, right? It's a journey. It's a relationship between us as leaders and our teams. This is not a checked box exercise. Tragedy is such a huge test of how strong relationships are, how good our leadership is, including the quality of our cultures and our organization. It showcases us as leaders in how we show up, and it shows organizations demonstrating that they can or not care in those moments. This will go a long way into determining if this is a place teams want to stay or not. A little side note here too. It's not just about the leaders and the team members going through this. Other people see this. They see how we react. People talk. And if leaders fail in these moments, colleagues who have a better relationship with those going through this tragedy will get the full story of this failure and how leaderships have reacted. As the pandemic was a huge litmus test for leadership, so are these personal moments. It's a test. We just have to pass it if we truly care about our people and not just say we do. That's it. That's all. That is another mini episode of Relationships at Work, the Leadership Mindset Guide for Creating a Workplace We Love. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher. Thanks again for joining me. Love spending this time with you. If you have a moment and want to see where these mindset shifts come from, you may want to check out the Raw Note newsletter. Go to russellolacher.com or relationshipsatwork.ca. I am Canadian. You go up there, you'll see free employee interviews. Well, those are templates. Those are free templates that I provide for interviews. And if you sign up and get those for free, you'll actually be on the newsletter. Quick and easy, just like that. That's where I test out these thoughts, these different perspectives that I hope you find of value that I think we can really use to improve the workplace. I'd love to have you join me. All right, that's it. That's all. Take care.